Welcome to Wisdom of the Bible. Connect with God through our Bible stories. Have you ever wondered what enemy was so terrifying that even Moses, chosen by God himself, needed divine encouragement to face him? What you're about to discover about the last giant king will change everything you thought you knew about biblical warfare. His name was Og, king of Bashan, and his very existence defied the laws of nature itself. This wasn't just any giant, he was the final descendant of the Rephaim, a race so feared they were called the Walking Dead. Stay with me because at minute 12, I'll reveal the shocking truth about how this 15-foot monster might have survived the Great Flood. Picture an enemy so massive that his iron bed alone measured nearly 15 feet long and 6 feet wide. Moses himself trembled at the sight until God spoke directly to him saying, "Do not fear him." If you're already fascinated by this incredible story, hit that subscribe button now because what's coming next will blow your mind. The Hebrew root of Og's name literally means gigantic, but this wasn't poetic language, it was a terrifying reality. This colossal king ruled over the Amorites in the fertile lands of Bashan, where giants still walked among men. But here's where it gets really interesting. Og wasn't just any descendant of giants. He belonged to the Rephaim, a mysterious race whose very name means the dead or walking dead in Hebrew. These weren't ordinary giants, they were believed to be cursed survivors of a judgment that should have destroyed them completely. Remember this detail because it becomes crucial to understanding why God had to intervene directly in this battle. The Rephaim were supposed to have been wiped out by the Great Flood, yet somehow they returned. Ancient Jewish traditions tell an incredible story about how Og might have survived that divine catastrophe. According to the renowned Rabbi Rashi, Og pleaded with Noah to be saved from the rising waters. In an act of compassion, Noah allowed him to cling to the outside of the ark while the world drowned around them. But hold on to that thought because what happens next in our story will shock you even more. Some ancient texts claim Og lived for over 3,000 years, witnessing the rise and fall of entire civilizations. Picture this immortal giant swimming among floating cedar logs for days, sustained by supernatural strength. Other traditions say he built his own massive ark from the mighty cedars of Bashan, creating a ship for titans. We're halfway through this incredible journey, and now comes the most important part of Og's story. His kingdom of Bashan was a paradise, fertile fields, lush forests, and abundant resources that sustained entire nations. The famous cedars of Bashan were used in noble constructions and even in sacred religious rituals. But this beautiful land was ruled by darkness incarnate, a giant whose very presence challenged God's plan. The first biblical mention of Og's people appears in Genesis 14, when powerful kings waged war against the Rephaim. His capital city, Ashtaroth-Karnaim, became a fortress of resistance against the divine will. Before we continue with the most incredible part of this story, please subscribe to our channel to support us. Now picture the scene, Moses leading Israel toward the promised land, only to face this seemingly invincible obstacle. Og didn't bow before the Israelite advance, instead, he rose to battle with supernatural defiance. This wasn't just a physical confrontation, it was a spiritual warfare between heaven and the forces of ancient corruption. The giant king gathered his armies, confident that his size and strength would crush these desert wanderers. His warriors were legendary, trained in the arts of war and fortified in cities that seemed impregnable. But then came the divine word that changed everything. "Do not fear him, for I have delivered him into your hand." Keep watching because the most important revelation about this battle comes in just 2 minutes. The clash took place in Edrei, a barren desert location that many scholars identify as modern-day Dara, Syria. Picture the ground trembling under the weight of this titanic confrontation between God's people and the last giant. According to some traditions, it wasn't Moses but Joshua who struck the final blow against this mountain of a man. Armed with a divine spear, Joshua faced the 15-foot giant in single combat that defied human imagination. The battle was fierce, but swift. God had predetermined the outcome of this supernatural confrontation. With Og's defeat, an entire age came to an end, the age of giants walking freely upon the earth. This brings us to the turning point that reveals why this victory was so crucial for humanity's future. Bashan, once the throne of giants, was transformed into pastureland for God's people. The fertile region was given to the half-tribe of Manasseh as their inheritance in the Promised Land. Cities like Golan became places of refuge, where justice and mercy replaced the tyranny of giants. The lesson here will transform how you see spiritual warfare in your own life today. Just as Israel faced seemingly impossible giants, we face overwhelming challenges that seem beyond our strength. But remember God's words to Moses, "Do not fear." The same promise applies to every believer today. OG's massive iron bed became an eternal testimony, preserved as evidence of God's victory over supernatural enemies. The dimensions of that bed, nearly 15 feet long, served as a permanent reminder of divine power. Even after conquering Bashan, the land continued to be mentioned by prophets and psalmists for generations. Its majestic oaks are cited in Isaiah, its vast pastures remembered in the Psalms as symbols of God's provision. What once represented resistance to God's plan became part of Israel's legacy and blessing. The prophet Ezekiel spoke of Bashan's riches, while Jeremiah used its beauty to illustrate divine restoration. In just 30 seconds, you'll understand why this ancient victory still matters for believers today. After the exile, Bashan was divided into 4 districts, completely transformed from its dark origins. The land of the last giant became a dwelling place for shepherds, prophets, and fulfilled promises. This incredible transformation shows us that no enemy is too great when God fights for his people. Whether you're facing financial giants, health giants, or relationship giants, remember OG's defeat. The same God who gave Moses courage to face a 15-foot supernatural enemy is fighting for you today. No matter how overwhelming your circumstances appear, no giant stands when God has decreed your victory. Thanks for joining me on this incredible journey through one of Scripture's most fascinating accounts. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel so we can keep making great content. Next week, we're exploring another biblical giant that will leave you amazed. You won't want to miss it.